You know those neighborhoods where everything looks picture perfect from the street? The kind with identical lawns trimmed to military precision, houses painted in approved beige tones, and flags waving just the right way? That's Evergreen Terrace for you. On the surface, it's the American dream. Kids on bikes, weekend barbecues, friendly waves from porches that all match the HOA color chart. But underneath, it's a powder keg ruled by the Homeowners Association, or as we locals started calling it after everything went down, the House of Absurdity. And at the center of it all was Pamela Voss. Oh boy, Pamela. She wasn't officially the president at first, but everyone knew she ran the show. With her platinum blonde bob cut sharper than her tongue, oversized sunglasses perched on her nose even at dusk, and a collection of pastel tracksuits that screamed, "I'm important," she patrolled the streets like a self-appointed sheriff. Her laminated homemade badge. Yes, she had a badge. Read, Enforcer Extraordinaire. Most of us laughed it off at first. Nothing says community spirit like a Karen treating the bylaws like the Ten Commandments, except she was the one who got to break them whenever it suited her ego. Jordan Hayes was different. He kept to himself in the house at the end of Maple Lane, the one with the tall oak tree that had been there long before the HOA even existed. Jordan was the kind of guy you'd barely notice, mid-40s, recently divorced, worked from home as a cybersecurity consultant for some vague government contracts that required discretion and the occasional black SUV rolling up at odd hours. He valued his privacy more than most. His backyard was his sanctuary, fully fenced, fully deeded, an island of calm deliberately outside their creeping jurisdiction. No dues, no nonsense. Or so he thought. It was a perfect Sunday morning when it started. Jordan was doing what any sane person would after a long week staring at screens, lounging under that old oak with a worn thriller novel in one hand and a glass of iced tea sweating on the iron table beside him. The sun filtered through the leaves, birds chirped, and for a moment the world felt right again. The divorce had left him raw, but this little patch of grass was his peace. That's when he spotted the jagged cuts on the lower branches hanging over his side of the fence. Someone had hacked at them with what looked like dull shears, leaving ugly stubs that oozed sap like open wounds. Jordan frowned but shrugged it off. Maybe the neighbor's gardener was sloppy. People get lazy with pruning. Then she appeared. Pamela Voss stood on the other side of the fence, arms crossed, lips pursed like she'd bitten into a lemon dipped in vinegar. Her tracksuit was a screaming shade of peach today. "You're not supposed to be here," she announced, her voice carrying across the lawn like a poorly tuned siren. Jordan lowered his book slowly. "Excuse me. This area," she gestured grandly at his entire backyard, "is designated common space per HOA bylaws. Only authorized members can use it. You need to vacate immediately unless you have prior approval." He stared at her for a long second, genuinely confused. "Ma'am, this is my property. I own it outright. The deed is clear, predates your whole association by 15 years. Pamela snorted, a sound dripping with derision that made the iced tea taste sour. "Oh, please. Don't insult my intelligence. We've seen the strange cars coming and going. Men in dark suits. You're probably not even the real owner. Squatters these days are getting bold. Or maybe you're one of those, what do they call them? Deep state plants sent to spy on real Americans." Jordan felt a flicker of irritation rise in his chest, the kind that comes when someone tries to rewrite reality right in front of you. But he kept his cool. Years of dealing with bureaucratic nonsense in his line of work had taught him patience. "I assure you, I live here. Have for 8 years. Perhaps there's a misunderstanding with the property lines. I can show you the survey if you'd like." "There's no misunderstanding," she snapped, already pulling out her phone with manicured fingers flying across the screen. "I'm calling the HOA patrol right now. Earl, get over here." The whining electric hum of a golf cart announced Earl's arrival, Pamela's loyal sidekick, a perpetually tan guy who seemed to live for these moments of borrowed authority. He skidded to a halt, clutching a megaphone like it was a sword. Shirtless, wraparound shades, the whole ridiculous package. "This is a violation of Statute 4.2. Earl boomed through the megaphone, feedback screeching loud enough to make a nearby squirrel bolt for cover. "Trespassing on monitored common area. Vacate or face enforcement action." Neighbors started peeking through their blinds now. curtains twitching like they were watching a soap opera unfold live. Jordan could feel the eyes boring into him, the subtle judgment of people who'd rather stay on Pamela's good side than defend common sense. He sighed deeply, the weight of isolation from the divorce mixing with fresh frustration. "This has gone far enough," he said quietly, more to himself than her. He picked up his phone instead of arguing further. "This is going to be interesting." He dialed a familiar number. "Miller? Yeah, it's Jordan. We have a situation at the house. Overzealous locals again. Might need your team to swing by. Things are escalating." Pamela laughed mockingly, phone still recording. "Calling your fake friends? This isn't a movie, buddy. You're on HOA land." Little did she know how spectacularly wrong she was. The low rumble of approaching SUVs was already on the way, and the neighborhood's perfect facade was about to crack wide open. Before Pamela could finish her triumphant countdown, the unmistakable growl of heavy-duty engines cut through the humid air. Two black SUVs glided around the corner like sharks, government plates gleaming under the sun. They pulled up just outside the fence line with quiet authority that sucked the bluster right out of Earl's megaphone. Two agents stepped out. Miller, tall and composed in a dark suit despite the heat, sunglasses hiding any emotion, and Davies beside him, shorter but scanning everything with practiced efficiency. They moved like people who'd done this dance before. Miller nodded curtly toward Jordan. "Everything all right here?" Pamela bristled immediately, stepping forward like a peacock fluffing feathers. "Who are you people? You can't just drive on a HOA property like this. This is a private community." Miller turned his full attention to her, voice calm, but carrying the weight of real authority. "Ma'am, you need to step back from this property line. This gentleman is a federally protected consultant. His residence is under federal advisement status with perimeter monitoring. You're currently interfering with a secure location." Pamela's face cycled through confusion, disbelief, then pure incandescent rage. "Federally protected? This is fake. You're all actors. I saw videos about this on YouTube. They hire people to intimidate citizens. This is HOA land." She jabbed a finger at Jordan's house. "Earl, call the real police. These people are impersonating federal agents." Earl, however, looked like he'd rather be anywhere else. He was already edging back toward his golf cart, bravado evaporating faster than morning dew. The megaphone hung limp at his side. Miller didn't blink. He reached into his jacket and produced credentials, sleek federal badge and ID. "These are not fake, ma'am." Pamela swatted at the air near the badge like it was a fly. "Please, I could buy that off Etsy. You can't just flash shiny things and expect people to roll over. I know my rights." Miller tapped his earpiece. "Dispatch, this is Miller. We have a civilian refusing verbal commands and denying federal identification. Requesting documentation team backup to verify status and record interference." Pamela's jaw dropped. The word documentation team hung heavy, and as if on cue, a second marked Homeland Security SUV rolled up behind the first. The official seal alone made Earl trip over his own feet, scrambling into the golf cart. He sped away without a backward glance, leaving Pamela utterly alone. "This is tyranny," she screamed, voice cracking. "You're all going to regret this. I'm calling the news, the real news." Miller stayed unervingly calm. "You are interfering with federal personnel on federally monitored private property. Return to your own property immediately." Pamela spun on her heel, shouting over her shoulder as she stormed off. "This isn't over. I'm calling an emergency HOA meeting. We'll vote you out. You can't just declare land federal." Jordan watched her go, finishing his iced tea with a sigh. "She's the ringleader. Thinks democracy extends to voting people off their own property." Davies finally spoke, quiet but firm. "Her actions have been documented, sir. Let's hope it ends here." But Jordan had that sinking feeling Pamela wasn't the type to learn from near misses. And he was right. The next day, she rallied a dozen residents in her backyard, folding table, donuts, portable speaker, flyers screaming, "Protect our neighborhood from government infiltration." It looked more like a paranoid cult recruitment than an HOA meeting. Jordan watched from his porch through binoculars, coffee mug in hand reading, "Keep calm and carry on." Miller stood discreetly nearby. Pamela stood on a plastic chair, waving blurry photos of Jordan's satellite dish labeled Mind Control Beam and pointing at his shed as a signal disruption site. Even his bird bath got a red arrow on her hand-drawn diagram. "This man is not who he says he is," she shrieked. "Deep state plant sent to monitor us. The black cars prove it. They want our homes." Jordan shook his head. "Only if she weaponizes the garden gnomes." Miller's deadpan reply almost made him laugh. "The motion passes unanimously," Pamela declared despite only 2 hands going up. "Draft the eviction order immediately." That's when Miller stepped forward with a tablet. "Excuse me, ma'am. This is surveillance footage from the past week." The crystal-clear video showed Pamela sneaking onto Jordan's property multiple times, recording through windows, peering over fences, and crudely hacking those oak branches herself. "That's fake. Deep fake," she sputtered. But someone in the back muttered, "Wait, that's your blue visor, Pamela." The crowd shifted uncomfortably. Drama was just getting started. The meeting froze. Pamela's face flushed crimson as the footage played on Miller's tablet, her own blue visor clear as day, while she snipped branches on Jordan's side, muttering about improving community sightlines. Another clip caught her flipping through papers that looked suspiciously like HOA financial ledgers on her laptop, numbers crossed out and pocketed in her tracksuit. "That's manufactured evidence," she insisted, but the tech-savvy neighbor in the back, old Mr. Hargrove, who fixed everyone's Wi-Fi, leaned in and said quietly, "No, ma'am. Timestamp matches. That's real. And those ledger entries, you've been moving funds around." The twist hit like a thunderclap. Supporters who'd nodded along now exchanged uneasy glances. Mrs. Langley, the one who blamed Wi-Fi for migraines, whispered, "Pamela, you said this was about protecting us, but you were the one trespassing?" Pamela whipped out her phone again. "That's it. I'm calling the real media. They'll expose this charade." By Monday, her front yard had a canopy tent labeled Community Truth Zone and a local news van parked at the curb. A young reporter listened with forced patience as Pamela launched into her tale of infiltration and intimidation, gesturing wildly for the cameraman to follow her toward Jordan's fence. "See? Suspicious antennas. They're intercepting our Wi-Fi." Miller walked calmly out before they could step on the grass. "Press, you're welcome to film from public property. However, this line is federally protected private property. Any unauthorized entry is a federal offense under Title 18. The reporter's eyes widened at the specific statute. He backed away fast. "Understood. We'll get comment later. Don't you walk away," Pamela shrieked as the van door slammed. "This is a cover-up. 5G chemtrails." Furious, she launched a live stream from under her tent. "The media has been silenced. But we, the people, will not be intimidated by fake badges." Jordan watched from inside, shaking his head. Miller came in quietly. "HQ recommends temporary extraction, sir. Increased visibility. Relocation protocol." Jordan nodded. Let her stew in her theories. Seems fitting. He packed a small bag and left in the SUVs, glancing back at Pamela still ranting. Within minutes, an unmarked van arrived. A massive new sign went up inside the fence. Federal Surveillance Zone. Entry restricted under Title 18 U.S.C. 1382. Violators will be prosecuted. A high-res camera tower rose beside it, lens aimed straight at Pamela's pacing path. Jordan spent the next days in a safe house, getting updates. "She's seen the sign," Miller reported. Paced for an hour, gesturing wildly at the camera. "Any crossing?" "Negative for now." But Jordan knew her pattern. The challenge only fueled her. Just after dawn the next morning, Pamela emerged in a bathrobe, phone held high for another live stream. "They think these signs and cameras can scare us patriots? This is still America. We have rights." She crept toward the new camera pole in ridiculous parody of stealth, narrating every step. With a defiant glare at the lens, she reached over the line and slapped her palm flat against the metal pole. "See? I'm touching it. What are they going to do?" The silent alarm triggered instantly. Within 20 minutes, a marked federal law enforcement cruiser arrived. 2 uniformed officers stepped out calmly. Pamela's righteous fury lit up. "So the tyrants send their thugs. Are you here to arrest me for exercising rights on community land?" "Ma'am, you were observed trespassing on federally protected property in violation of Title 18. Hands behind your back." "Never." she shrieked, phone still rolling. I know my rights. This is illegal. Tell the world, oppression. The officers moved efficiently. She resisted, arms flailing, voice hysterical as they secured her wrists. Her phone clattered to the sidewalk, live stream still capturing everything. The bathrobe-clad Karen being escorted to the cruiser while screaming about tyranny. That footage went viral within hours. Hashtags exploded. Bathrobe Karen, HOA Karen arrested. Someone set it to the cops' theme song. The neighborhood buzzed with disbelief and barely concealed amusement. Jordan returned the next day. The atmosphere had shifted. Neighbors who'd averted eyes now waved cautiously. Mrs. Langley's curtains stayed drawn. Earl's golf cart sat under a tarp. Miller suggested a barbecue. Gesture of goodwill. Agents grilled burgers with dad jokes while kids played on the lawn. Laughter replaced suspicion. A plain white, unmarked van pulled into Pamela's driveway. Two plainclothes officials handed her a thick envelope. Her face went bone white. She retreated inside without a word. Later, Miller murmured, "That wasn't us. IRS, financial crimes. Significant misappropriation of HOA funds. Hot tub, defense signage, her tent, all charged to the association." The news spread like wildfire. Pamela's cryptic comments about rising costs suddenly made sense. The reformed HOA board voted unanimously that evening. Pamela removed from all positions, actions referred for criminal investigation. A few weeks later, a single moving truck arrived at dawn. Pamela left in the passenger seat, sunglasses on, without a backward glance. The house sold quickly to a nice retired couple who promised the only rules involved bingo night. The HOA apologized formally and installed a smooth stone bench under Jordan's oak. Etched on it, he stayed. Property owner since 2010. Life settled back. Kids rode bikes freely. Barbecues returned without tension. Jordan sat on his new bench watching sunsets, profound peace washing over him. The chaos had passed. Patience, truth, and a firmly planted lawn chair had prevailed, and the neighborhood learned the hard way that bullies who crave control eventually get exactly what they deserve. The satisfying kind of justice that makes you smile every time you walk past that empty lot where Pamela used to rule.